Rosie was used to wildlife roaming the outskirts of her property, but nothing could have prepared her for the massive lion standing at the edge of her backyard one quiet morning. Unlike other animals that pass through and move on, this lion didn't budge. It stared at her with intense, almost human-like focuses, eyes steady, its body still. Then, it did something strange. It turned, walked a few steps, and paused waiting, as if it wanted her to follow. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any new stories. Heart-pounding, Rosie stepped closer, unsure of what she'd find beyond the fence line. What she saw next made her fall to her knees, overwhelmed by emotion and a truth she never expected. Rosie took a deep breath and stepped forward, trying to stay calm. The lion's eyes met hers, and she felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. Mufasa, if that was his name, seemed to understand, standing quietly, like he was waiting just for her. Just then, Grace, her next-door neighbor, came out onto her porch, clearly stunned. "Rosie, is that a lion?" she called, her voice tinged with disbelief. Rosie nodded, unable to take her eyes off Mufasa. "Yeah, it is," she replied, waving Grace over. Grace hesitated but joined her friend in the backyard. "What are you going to do?" she asked, her voice a mix of worry and wonder. Rosie shook her head, still unsure of what this all meant. As Grace and Rosie talked, Thomas from down the street pulled up in his truck, curious about the commotion. He quickly jumped out, eyes widening as he took in the sight of the lion lounging on the grass. "Whoa, Rosie, you planning to open a zoo?" he joked, trying to lighten the mood. Rosie managed to smile, but her mind raced with unanswered questions. "Not exactly, but maybe we should call someone?" she pondered. Grace looked at Rosie, then back at Mufasa, biting her lip. "Do you think it's safe?" she asked, inching a little closer. Rosie shrugged, her feelings a jumble of fear and intrigue. "I don't know, but he hasn't done anything yet. It's like he's waiting for something," Rosie replied. Out of nowhere, Mufasa let out a low, rumbling roar. Startled, everyone took a quick step back, their hearts leaping. But oddly, it wasn't menacing. If anything, it felt like a greeting. Rosie, Grace, and Thomas exchanged uneasy glances, trying to interpret the lion's message. "Is that a hello or a get lost?" Thomas wondered aloud, half joking, half serious. Rosie didn't answer, but something told her Mufasa wasn't there to harm them. From across the yard, Lily, Grace's daughter, burst outside, her eyes wide with excitement. "Mom, there's a real lion," she squealed, running towards them before Grace could stop her. Rosie quickly moved, hoping to reach Lily before the child got too close. "Lily, wait!" she called, her voice urgent yet gentle. Lily slowed, but her eyes stayed glued to Mufasa, completely captivated by the beautiful creature standing before them. Rosie instinctively grabbed Lily's arm, pulling her back gently. "Stay close, okay?" she said, her tone soft but firm. Lily nodded, still buzzing with excitement. Grace hurriedly joined them, wrapping an arm around her daughter protectively. "We need to be careful, Lily," Grace reminded her, eyes fixed on the lion. Rosie, relieved that Lily was safe, turned her attention back to Mufasa, who stood there watching, not making a single threatening move. Watching Mufasa step back, Grace and Thomas seemed to relax a bit. "It's almost like he knows we're talking about him," Thomas said, scratching his head. Grace nodded, slightly reassured by Mufasa's calm demeanor. "Maybe he's just curious, like us," she replied, trying to make sense of this surreal situation. The lion's gentle retreat gave everyone a moment to breathe, their unease slowly turning into fascination. Rosie glanced at Grace and Thomas, hoping for advice. "So, what do we do next?" she asked, feeling a mix of determination and doubt. Grace shrugged, her mind racing just like Rosie's. "I guess we wait and see what he does," she suggested. Thomas chimed in, "Maybe we should call animal control, just in case." Rosie nodded, understanding their concerns, but also feeling oddly connected to this lion as if he was here for more than just a visit. Trying to keep calm, Grace moved closer. "Okay, everyone, let's not panic," she suggested, her voice steady but soft. The sight of the lion was enough to make anyone's heart race, but Grace believed freaking out wouldn't help. Rosie caught Grace's eye and nodded, grateful for her presence. "Yeah, we're not in any real danger as long as we stay cool," Rosie replied, trying to catch a breath amidst the oddness of seeing a lion right in her backyard. Thomas scratched his head, debating what to do next. "I think maybe we should call animal control," he proposed, looking from Rosie to Grace. "I mean, this is not something we see every day in the neighborhood." Rosie understood his concern. "You're right," she agreed, feeling the weight of the decision. "We have to think about everyone's safety too. But I still feel like there's more to why he's here." As they discussed their options, Rosie couldn't shake the feeling that calling for help wasn't the answer. "I know it sounds weird, but I think he wants to tell us something, or maybe show us," she said quietly, glancing toward Mufasa. Grace looked at Rosie thoughtfully. Mufasa sat still, his eyes locked on Rosie. There was something deep and knowing in his gaze. Rosie felt inexplicably drawn to him, as if some silent understanding passed between them. Thomas joked about the lion recognizing her, lightening the mood. Rosie chuckled, tension easing slightly. With a deep breath, Rosie stepped forward. "I think I'm going to see where this leads." Grace knelt beside Lily. "How about we stay here, sweetheart? It'll be safer." Lily nodded, though disappointed, and told Rosie to call if they needed her. Grace's protective nature provided comfort as Rosie turned toward Mufasa. Mufasa rose and glanced back, clearly beckoning them onward. Rosie and Thomas moved forward, doubts fading with each step. Rosie cast one last look at Grace and Lily before crossing beyond the backyard fence. The woods grew denser. Mufasa moved gracefully ahead, his golden mane glowing under shafts of light. Rosie pressed forward, her mind filled with questions. There had to be a reason for all this. As they walked, the forest shifted. Once cared-for paths were now wild and overgrown, with signs of forgotten life peeking through. "Looks like someone used to tend this place," Thomas noted. Rosie's eyes scanned the landscape, wonder growing. "It's like discovering a lost world," she said. Suddenly, Rosie's phone buzzed. It was Grace, her voice urgent. "Where are you? I can't see you or Thomas," Rosie reassured her. "We're okay, just following Mufasa, trying to understand what this is all about." Grace hesitated, then replied, "All right, just be careful." Rosie promised to keep her updated, urging Grace to stay close to Lily. Thomas took out his camera, snapping photos of the area. "Might help us piece things together later." The sound of the shutter blended with birdsong and rustling leaves, anchoring them in the reality of their journey. With each step, Rosie's sense of connection to the place deepened. Eventually, Mufasa guided them to a small clearing. Old benches peeked through thick vegetation. The atmosphere shifted, it felt sacred, preserved by time. "We're onto something," Rosie said quietly, her heart racing. In the center of the clearing, she paused, struck by a rush of fragmented memory sunlight, laughter, the warmth of fur. "I know this place," she whispered. Thomas watched her closely. "You remember anything?" She nodded. "Pieces, like I'm finally coming home." Thomas continued taking photos, aware of the story unfolding around them. "This place tells a story," he said, capturing each detail with quiet reverence. Rosie agreed. The weight of the mystery made everything feel profound, as though every frame carried meaning. Kneeling down again, Rosie brushed aside leaves and uncovered something unexpected, an old photo album. "Thomas, look at this." Inside were pictures of a young girl playing with a lion cub. Thomas glanced at her, astonished. "Is that you?" Rosie stared at the images, overcome with emotion, as long-buried memories surged to the surface. The air around them grew still, charged with something ancient and personal. Rosie stood in silence, the forest now whispering familiar echoes. Thomas remained beside her, sensing the moment's importance. Memories flickered with every turn. There he was, Mufasa, younger, playful, part of my childhood. "I remember this lion," I whispered. Thomas, surprised, leaned in. "It's like he's always been part of your story." The photos stirred something deeper, awakening joy buried in time. Thomas stood beside me, thoughtful. His gaze shifted between the album and the lion resting nearby. "There's a connection here," he said. The photos painted joyful snapshots of a forgotten past. Encouraged by Thomas, I felt ready to dig deeper. "Let's see what else the forest is hiding," I said, energized. As we walked, familiar landmarks emerged: curved trees, an old bridge, winding trails. Each sight sparked memories. As we neared the sanctuary's heart, the forest seemed to whisper its final message. Mufasa stood silently nearby. The truth was clear. Now this sanctuary was part of me, and Mufasa had never really left. We had simply found our way back. Nestled beneath the foliage, plaques bore names of rescued lion shields marking a legacy of compassion. "It's like a trail of stories," Thomas said, brushing away vines. I ran my fingers over the etched names, each one linking back to my father. "These lions meant everything to him," I whispered, overcome with connection. Suddenly, Mufasa's roar echoed through the clearing. It wasn't just a sound, it was a declaration. The wind carried echoes of my father's dream. "You could almost hear him," I said. Thomas nodded. "He left you a legacy, Rosie." And I understood my father had always meant for me to continue what he began. "This is worth continuing," I said aloud, realization settling in. Thomas nodded. "Your father was onto something good. The mission now felt like my own." Mufasa paced slowly nearby, his presence calm and steady. Thomas turned to me, sincerity in his voice. "Whatever you need, I'm here," I smiled. His support made everything feel possible. Soon, Grace and Lily joined us, their expressions bright. "Count us in," Grace said. Lily beamed. "I want to help the lions." Their enthusiasm brought warmth and purpose to our mission. Looking at everyone standing beside me, I felt overwhelmed with gratitude. "Let's do this together," I said. The sanctuary wasn't just a personal journey anymore, it belonged to all of us. We were united by shared history and hope, ready to breathe new life into this place. Word spread fast. The sanctuary's reopening sparked excitement across the community. Volunteers poured in, eager to help. "Look at all these folks pitching in," Thomas said, watching the crowd. The sanctuary came alive again, not just physically, but in spirit. Mufasa became more than a lion. His presence sparked conversations about conservation and responsibility. "He's got a kind of magic," Grace said. I nodded. People saw him as a symbol of protection and purpose, drawing attention to something vitaler bond with nature. As I reflected, I felt deep fulfillment. We honored my father's dreams while forging new connections. "We did it," I said softly. Grace gave a thumbs up. Thomas smiled, and Lily clapped with joy. This sanctuary had become a bridge between past and future, old dreams and new beginnings. Grace looked thoughtful. "We should celebrate, share this place with others." Lily's eyes lit up. "Parties with lions," she giggled. We laughed, but the idea resonated. Hosting events would let others experience the sanctuary and help carry the message forward. And so, we began planning celebrations, gatherings, and programs that would keep the sanctuary alive in people's hearts. What began as a rediscovery had become a movement fueled by love, unity, and a lion's roar that refused to fade.